one of the things that we looked at when we decided to get into the column refrigeration and freezers and wine coolers is to what could separate us from everybody else, because there's a lot of people in this market segment. And so when we looked at it, what we did is we focused on food preservation, wine preservation, and the whole premise behind what we manufacture is to extend the life expectancy of the products that are going to be stored within the unit. We also relied a lot on our commercial heritage with stainless steel interiors and heavy duty hinges. And so we didn't want to lose that perspective. But again, a lot of people are saying, well, why would Perlick get into this market? Well, again, we saw an opportunity to be able to supply our customers with a superior product with focus on food and beverage preservation. Next. So let's just take a look at some of the motivators. And I think this has really become in the forefront, especially today, due to the fact that people now are because we have limited access to grocery stores and that, they're going out and we're stockpiling. Unfortunately, the off-the-shelf refrigerators that you're buying from your local stores aren't designed and built actually for long-term food storage. And when I started digging into it, and this is even before we got into the situation we're in, I found some interesting stuff. As an example, that the United States, Americans, actually throw away approximately $165 billion worth of food each year. That's 35 million tons of food going into our dumps. 40% of the food that people today are buying is going to waste. Americans spend $90 billion each year for food that never even gets eaten. Now, again, I'm talking from the time they put it in the ground to the time it goes to storage, to a grocery store, and ends up in the person's home. So that's a total of everything. 25% of the water we consume is used for food. You got to remember, when they take it out of the field, they got to wash it. When you put it in the store, especially your crispy lettuces and kale, you notice they have the misters. All that water accumulates to 25% of all the water we use. 4% of oil is consumed to get the product from the fields to the warehousing, from the warehousing to the stores. So a lot of people don't think about this, and this is a great way to start a conversation when a person is looking for a refrigerator or freezer, to open their eyes and just kind of express to them, you know, what's going on right now. Why do you want to get a unit that's going to have food preservation? And that's its main focus. Next. So let's break it down even a little bit further, that the American household, again, spends 76 billion pounds of food per year. The average person wastes 238 pounds of food a year. The average household throws away $2,200 worth of food a year. To put that again into perspective, basically for every 4 bags of groceries you buy, you're throwing away 1 bag of food. And putting that a number to it, and these numbers are about 3 years old, $2,200. If I look at what the cost of an upright column refrigerator that has extended food preservation, you're looking at $7,500 roughly. So your ROI is like 2.5 to 3 years you saved by having a unit that will preserve your food. 20% of the food you buy never gets eaten. Again, I think if you start explaining this to the consumers, they can relate to it, and you kind of change the focus, because a lot of times they're coming in looking at price. Well, here's an opportunity to take away from that focus and refocus them in as, what are you going to do with this? How often do you go to the store? And what kind of product do you really need for your lifestyle? Next. The other focus that we try to discuss is the fact that, again, we're finding out the hard way is about the danger zones. And just reiterating with the customer that the bacteria growth, the danger zone is anywhere from between 40 degrees and 140 degrees. A lot of people don't understand that. On the commercial side, we're well aware of it because in a restaurant, this is what the health inspectors check. They're checking to make sure you're storing your meat below 40 and it's not within the 140 range, because again, bacteria and stuff that can hurt you and harm you will grow at that temperatures. So maintaining temperatures, making sure that you're storing your food properly to reduce the amount of spoilage is critical to a homeowner. Because again, anytime I'm throwing stuff in the garbage, you just might as well take your wallet and throw it right in the trash, because that's basically what you're doing. Next.
So now that, Tom has done a great job of kind of going through and explaining, the importance of having the right refrigeration, now it's going to be a perfect lead into, understanding and overviewing the Perlick collection portfolio. So as you can see with the slide above, Perlick has expanded their product portfolio. We've got 24-inch column, 30-inch column refrigerator, along with 24-inch freezers. And then to add to the collection, the 24-inch wine column, single and dual zone. What today we're going to focus our attention on is going to be the refrigerator and freezer, as we'll have another PowerPoint and presentation solely focused on wine preservation. So within the Perlick collection, what we're going to do and spend some time on is, one, we're going to go over the 24-inch, 30-inch column, talk about some of the key differences. The exciting part about where, the Perlick collection, this Perlick column, is this is its first, Perlick's first line of full-size luxury appliances. Per usual, every unit's going to have a dedicated compressor, evaporator assembly, playing into the theme and the DNA of who Perlick is, commercial grade stainless steel throughout. And then additional features like our LED lighting and upgraded refrigerant, which we'll touch on a little bit more. But these are features that you're going to find across the entire Perlick line. Along with that, the features continue, and this is where we started to get into some of the exclusives and industry onlys that you're going to find within the Perlick column. And it starts with our QuatroCool preservation. This, as many of you know, is a 4 independently controlled temperature zones. And which is provided with filtration and humidity control. To go along with that, we'll have our Pearl IQ touchscreen control, very intuitive, smooth, elegant design, which we'll show some up-close images here later on. Storage, because at the end of the day, a refrigerator can be great, but if you don't have the right storage to make use of that space, because at the end of the day, within columns, it's about usable space. And you'll see within our column how much usable space we actually have. And then last but not least, as Tom talked to earlier around the importance of preservation, you're going to find that this product was designed with preservation in mind, and to really ensure that we display the fine ingredients that you'll see throughout. So first, what is QuatroCool? QuatroCool is Perlick's sole design or own design of cooling system. QuatroCool isn't just about the way a product cools, but it's also around maintaining temperature. It's about maintaining the right air quality, and then lastly, maintaining the right level of humidity. As we'll find that, the right level of preservation, there's so much more than just maintaining temperature. We're going to go through and touch on 4 of the independent zones and why each of those zones are important. And when we talk about these 4 independently controlled zones, have a think about why that is important to have each of those zones separately monitored and controlled independently. Think about how grocery stores and those sort of platforms are configured. And then last but not least, like we touched on a little bit with, understanding QuatroCool and the cooling system, that it's not just around temperature control, but it's also maintaining that air filtration. And you'll see really what we do that's really unique and ingenious when we get into our tip out produce bin. So with that said, I'm pass over to Tom and kind of go through a little bit of how the QuatroCool system works.
Yeah, if you hit it again, Wilson, it'll show the pictures. Hit it again. There you go. I think this becomes confusing to a customer, because if you're walking up the aisle and you're looking at all the refrigerators out there, some of them say they have 2 zones, some say they have 3 zones, and we're saying we have 4 zones. But what does that really mean to the consumer? Well, if you look at a conventional refrigerator, they'll usually have one sensing bulb centrally located inside the refrigeration someplace So it's going to average the temperature across the whole cabinet. If you look at our column, what we're doing again is in the bottom of the unit, there is where your evaporator is located. So we're going to blow cold air through the back wall, as you see on the left. It's going to come out some vents up on the top, and then it gets pulled down across the whole unit and re-enters into the refrigeration area through some holes in the front, which you can see if you look inside the cabinet. So when the section 1, which is the main refrigerator, says, hey, I need cooling, it turns a compressor on, turns the evaporator on, circulates that air, and starts chilling section 1 in the main box. Next. So how are we controlling our independent sections? Again, as Wilson told you, we have 4 zones. Each zone has its own temperature control, which is unique in the market. No one else that we know of has that availability. So what we're going to do is, you see the top picture, behind each section, the top refrigeration section and your 3 different drawers and pull-up bins below, have this little damper behind it. Other than the main cabinet, remember the air's coming across the top, but in the 3 drawer units in the pull-up crisper drawer, behind there you will see a little damper drawer. This is electronically controlled. So say, for instance, your crisper drawer says, hey, I need cooling. It's not staying within my specifications. What it'll do then is it'll send down a signal to the refrigeration system. The little door will open, as you see in the top slide. And so when the refrigeration comes up to go through the back wall, it stops that air and diverts it into that crisper drawer. And that's how we're independently controlling each section based upon the demand of what you put in there. So you came home, you brought some meats and sausages, and you put them into that drawer. You put a little heat in there, but your upper section and your cheese and your crisper drawer don't need cooling. You don't want to put the whole refrigeration system in action if all I need is refrigeration for that section. So again, it would send a signal to open the door, turn on your cooling system, and force cold air into that drawer until it meets whatever temperature you have preset. As you can see in that lower picture, that little white piece up on top, that is the temperature sensor. That's what's telling the unit to turn on or turn off based upon what you have your controller set at. And I think this is important for a customer to understand. Challenge the other manufacturers in saying, hey, do you have this available on the other units that you're looking at? And I'm sure what you're going to find out is they're just blowing air and hoping that through stratification, warm air rises, cold air drops. That's how they're trying to maintain 3 different temperatures in one cabinet.
So I appreciate that, Tom, to kind of going in a little bit about really kind of how the QuatroCool works, and now kind of take a few minutes to dig into a little bit about how the touchscreen itself kind of controls and operates, and a little bit about what it has to provide. So one, you're going to find that, you know, it's designed for ease and use, and the ease of use isn't just from the easy of navigating from the capacitive touch to an easy illumination, as you can see on the screen or the picture to the right. You know, that bottom compartment, which is the produce, shows a carrot, so easy indicators, but also the location and where it's at waist level, easy to get to, easy to make adjustments. As with any sort of controls, the refrigeration area is going to be the area that people are going to want to have the most flexibility and take the most time to make those make those adjustments. And when they are making the adjustments, as you can see here on the slide, temperatures can be adjusted in 1 inch or 1 degree increments, and humidity done in 10% increments. And humidity control is a really unique part for ours, in the sense that, you know, we'll touch on a little bit more when we get into the tip out produce bin. But, you know, with our humidity is not just monitoring, but actually taking and making actions and changes to what we actually do with that information. Along with the controls, you're going to find additional settings with Sabbath mode, which will shut the whole unit down. And put it into Sabbath mode, which essentially shuts all the lights down. It doesn't work. Quick cool mode, perfect for when you just got back from the grocery store and you need everything to get down to temperature quickly. The unit's going to kick on, pull everything down. And then last but not least, you'll have the ability to adjust the brightness of your lighting. And we'll show you a few of the slides here in a little bit of where the lighting actually lines up. And last but not least, much unique from our columns versus our under counters, our columns will have a door alarm. So now that we've kind of gone through a little bit of the controls, we know kind of a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff with the unit. Now we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into each of the compartments. And just to recap, so Quattro Cool is split up into 4 main compartments. So we've got a main compartment, which range of 34 to 42, deli drawer, which give you a temperature range of 32 to 37, fish and meat, same temperature range, and then last but not least, the tip out produce bin. Now, what you're going to find in here is that, yes, there are ranges of temperatures that we allow the consumers to fluctuate in, but there's also a cap on either side, and that goes into the food preservation. We want to make sure that we give the consumers flexibility in adjusting temperatures, but we also make sure that we keep them within a tighter window to ensure that we're promoting proper preservation. So first, let's start with the main compartment. One of the things that I really love about what we've done in our main compartment, one, not just from a design and aesthetic standpoint, it looks really sharp, looks very premium. When you open it up, it's just really eye-popping. But what we actually do in these columns is it's very practical and functional for the end user. So one, the part that we really love to showcase when it comes to our shelving is the split shelf, as you can see here in the bottom right. I challenge you to look around other 24-inch units in the market right now that give you split shelving in that top section. Provides a lot more flexibility, a lot more versatility in using that space. And again, going back to usability, a lot more usable space in this unit than you'll find in a lot of our competitors because of that split shelving. Another component of this unit that I really enjoy is going to be that marinating pan. That marinating pan is just a simple yet really professional commercial grade unit or piece that really sets our unit apart from a lot of our competitors. Challenge your consumers and the people that are selling the product. What do you do with steaks and chickens and fishes when you're marinating them? More often than not, you're putting them in a plastic bag, putting it on a plate, and hoping it doesn't leak and spill everywhere. Well, here the Perlick products provide you that marinating pan and that shelf to put it on, so it creates a lot more shelf space. You're not taking away from any of your usable area. And then last but not least, it's dishwasher safe, which always just makes for easy clean. Actually, one other area I want to touch on the main compartment before we move on, and this is a common trend that you're going to find throughout all of our products with the depth of it and the depth of our shelves. Because of a lot of our cooling systems are all down below, we actually give you additional depth, about 2 inches more depth than a lot of our competitors out there. So again, back to usable space, we definitely maximize the usability in the main compartment with our shelving. And speaking of the shelving, leads us perfectly into the frameless spill-proof shelves. So if you do have an overflow or something that spills out, we do have this hyperphobic barrier that goes all around the shelves themselves and ensures that we prevent any sort of spilling, contaminating the rest of the product. Now, if you have a big overflow, it obviously won't hold it, but at the end of the day, it does a really great job of any of the overflow. Another area I love to point out and comment on our shelf is one of the things that you notice on the left side of our shelves is there isn't a metal trim or anything like that. So again, really giving you a lot of the usable space, the left to right space in terms of the shelf spacing or capacity. So going from our shelves, one of the stories and conversations that come up a lot is, especially when people are familiar with our under counter forced air cooling story, and the benefits of wire racking. And then when we get into our columns, everyone knows, well, you have glass, so what's your story? Well, the difference is where when you look at the under counter products is it has one point of where the refrigeration enters the cabinet. So if you were to have glass in there, it's far more restrictive. Versus when you look at our columns, there's one point of temperature entry in every temperature zone, which is controlled by those dampers, which allows that airflow to move far more freely throughout the entire zone and compartment. Wanted to take a step back and take a little bit closer look into our marinating pan as well, just again, as it is such a unique and differentiating feature for the Perlick columns in comparison to our competitors. So again, stainless steel construction designed to go in between the glass doors, free up your space on your shelving. For those that love to cook, this product is designed for those that love to cook, that love to preserve things properly. And for me, as someone that loves to grill and loves to cook outdoors, having a marinating pan to be able to put steaks or chickens in there just makes a lot of sense. And then to cap it all off, just the ease of clean, ensuring that it is commercial grades, quality material, stainless steel pan, dishwasher safe, as well as oven safe. So if you want to go straight from fridge to oven, it gives you that capability. The second zone we'll dip into is going to be the deli drawer. So deli drawer again gives you very clear temperature guidelines, and largely because we know that the right temperature for cheeses and the delis and whatnot needs to be between 32 and 37. Tom touched on earlier, the danger zone being 40 degrees, so we're well below that, so it's going to be food grade safe. What I love about the design ingenuity of our deli drawer, one is it's the push to open, so there aren't any handles, so if your hands are full, use an elbow, use a finger, use your hand to push it open, the drawer pops open and slides out. What I love about once that drawer is open is the two-tier approach. You have one, top level and a second level, and it's perfect to be able to put all your cheeses, anything out there on full display. The deli drawer is notorious for having cheese and meats and whatever else it is getting tucked back behind, hidden, and in 3 years go by, all of a sudden you find it. Here with the two shelves, the vibrant lighting, it's going to put it right there in front of you visually, and I think ensure that you have proper preservation and you actually see what you have. The third zone we'll go to is going to be the fish and meat drawer. Again, much like with the other zones, we give you a very clear setting of temperature range. What I love about our drawer, or the meat and fish one, is the cleanability side of it. So you can see that, one, they put plates in there, but below those plates there actually is a stainless pan or a metal dish below that's easily removable, dishwasher safe. So if you do have spills, it's easy to keep clean. Also provides you that glass little barrier to separate your fishes from your steaks. Again, just from that cleanliness, from an organizational standpoint. And then even just aesthetically, it looks really, really sharp. And again, at the end of the day, what's important in refrigeration is the preservation. So maintaining that temperature between 32 and 37 is going to ensure that your steaks, your fishes, and whatever else you're storing in there are going to be maintained and preserved properly. The fourth and final zone, and which is one of the most unique zones that we have, is our tip out produce bin. In our tip out produce bin, it's not just about monitoring the temperature, but it's also about monitoring humidity and the air quality. And that's really what ensures that our produce is going to last exponentially longer. The other real benefit of our tip out produce bin is the ability that we actually stand our leaves, or the leafy greens, upright, as you can see in the image. So you don't have things smashing or building on top of each other. Things are a lot more that are visual right there in front of you. And then again, much like our other the deli drawer, the meat one, is we give you that glass divider just to provide some separation and barriers between the two. Again, one area that I really want to reiterate here, and which we'll build on here in a few slides, monitoring maintaining temperature is just one part of the pie when it comes to food preservation. Maintaining the right humidity and the right level of air filtration are the other really critical factors. So let's take a little closer look into that humidity control. So again, what makes the Perlick unique is that when we're monitoring the humidity, we're not just monitoring to say, yep, it's dry or it's too moist in there, that we're actually taking that information and making adjustments to it. So if we're finding that the product has dropped below a certain level of humidity, then this unit will actually reintroduce moisture by pulling moisture off of the evaporator and introducing it back into the unit. And on the flip side, if the product notices that there's too much moisture in the product, then it'll spend the time extracting and pulling that moisture out. And we actually found majority of the time, you're actually pulling moisture out of the products and actually introducing. And more than ever is it more important to have the right level of humidity control and temperature control of air filtration control during this time when people are stocking up and buying far more produce than they have before, just because they need to stock up and they're buying for 2 weeks versus a week at a time. So having the right level of preservation is even more so important in the climate we're in now. So, but it's all great for us to talk about how important it is, but it's what does that mean to the customer? How do they get that understanding? What's the visual? Well, I think this visual really sets it off. I think everybody at one point or another in their life has experienced a head of lettuce that looked this wilty, didn't look that great, and obviously is not very appetizing. And why does this happen? Well, obviously it wasn't maintained right. Too much humidity, probably the air filtration wasn't great. So obviously without those factors, that lettuce is going to wilt prematurely. One of the questions I love to ask a lot of times is, in the competitors out there, how are they controlling and maintaining humidity? A lot of time a slider is used to allow moisture in and out. How effective is that really? But when you have the right, factors, the right temperature, the right humidity control, and the right temperature, this is what a head of lettuce can look like. So by having that humidistat constantly monitor humidity within that bin, it makes sure that whatever you're storing in there is going to preserve, it's going to last, and end up saving you, the consumer, exponentially more money. Last comment on here with the tip out produce bin I'll say is, Perlick is commercial inspired. Perlick has commercial through and through our DNA, and that's why you'll find features like this tip out produce bin with the humidity controlled, because it's commercial inspired. It's what you find and see at the grocery stores or the warehouses that store a lot of these groceries to preserve them properly. You're finding that same technology in the Perlick products. So one step closer into the filtration, just to show and highlight it a bit more, is so in our Perlick units, we've got two filters. We've got an ethylene and a charcoal filter. The ethylene filter, or the carbon filter, the ethylene filter is down in the tip out produce bin, located just above all the produce, so it's eliminating all the gases, and that's really what ensures that produce lasts exponentially longer. And then in terms of maintaining odor controls, where the carbon filter steps in, and that one's located at the very top of the unit. And what I love about what we've provided with these filters is trying to, again, is be green as possible. We have provided recyclable filters at the end of the day. Both are natural and mercury free. And this is a closer shot into what both of the filters will look like and what they're providing. Perlick has provided a roughly year supply of filters, and these are the recommendations of what we recommend on replacing. But again, it's all dependent on how much fresh food and what you're putting in your unit on a week and week basis. The carbon filter we recommend to replace every 3 to 6 months. Again, depends on how often you're filling it up. And same with the ethylene filter, replace every about 3 months. These same filters are also going to be found in the hospitality and restaurant business. So it's a high quality, designed for the commercial use, so it's going to do a great job. And again, to reiterate, we'll ship a year supply of those filters with the product. So now we've talked a lot about the preservation. We talked a lot about how the product performs and works. And now we're going to spend a couple minutes just going into some of the aesthetics and really unique or cool styling to the Perlick product. And one, it's the way the lighting looks, and they just did a beautiful job of placing the lighting, the LED lighting strips, just to really illuminate and do a great job of showcasing everything in this unit, not just from the strips on the side, but also the strips in each of the zones, whether it's the deli, the produce, or the meat and cheese, or the meat and fish drawer. That lighting in there just does a really great job of illuminating. Lighting also rolls when you open, so you don't have that bright, vibrant on or off type feel. And then last but not least, you are able to adjust that lighting on our control. And what, lighting seems like, okay, why do you spend so much time talking on lighting? Well, one, LED lighting is far more efficient, doesn't put out a heat, but it's also what it does visually to the product. It's a little tough to see with the PowerPoint here, but as you can see with the right lighting and the wrong lighting, food and produce specifically can really take a different look. With the right lighting, cheese will look right. And as weird as it sounds, we eat with our eyes. So when you open it up and the lighting doesn't do our food any services, it makes it look unattractive and unedible. It then makes a lot of difference. And then last but not least, it's also made, intended to ensure that it's easy to read labels and packaging for those with old eyes like myself. Some additional features that we touched on earlier, the Sabbath mode and quick cool mode. But one of the things I want to highlight on our Sabbath mode is we actually are Starcade certified, and that's going a step further just to ensure that we really hit it from all levels when we have the Sabbath mode. And again, with quick cool mode, that's perfect for when you've gone grocery shopping, you need it to bring down the lowest temperature setting quickly, and then it remains there until the temperature point is achieved. So we're going to round out the column presentation with spending the next few minutes just to go over the freezer and some of the unique features in here. And our freezer is an absolute tank. I love this unit from a design aesthetic. As you can see, stainless steel throughout, big heavy duty bins that we'll show here in a second, a temperature range from -10 to 10. And like I touched on earlier briefly with the depth of our product, we give you those 2 inches extra in depth. That also means in our freezer that anytime we go through a defrost, we're not going through that same warm up that a lot of our competitors are going to go through because of the evaporator condenser. Everything is all down below, so you don't have that back panel warming up when going through a defrost. So I touched on the full extension door bins, as you can see here in the bottom right corner. Big heavy duty metal bins, full extension, much like you'll find with our under counter product, full extension shelving, the full extension bins here as well. And each of those bins will have little vents and cuts out at the bottom of it to allow airflow and ensure that whatever in those bins are maintaining freeze without encountering any freezer burn or any fluctuation in temperature. Much like we have in our refrigeration, the LED lighting, again, you'll find in our freezer does a great job of illuminating and really showcasing things the right way. Commercial grade construction throughout. You won't find plastic components throughout our products. You're going to find high quality, commercial quality stainless steel metal on all of our units. And it just looks sharp. When you open up a Perlick column, whether it's the refrigerator, freezer with the lights on and cooling and functioning, the things just really showcase really well. And yeah, having the stainless steel allows it to show really well, but it also ensures that we're going to preserve everything there extremely well. That stainless steel is going to hold temperature, it's going to maintain temperature, and at the end of the day, we're going to provide the ultimate fresh and frozen food preservation system out there. To cap off, with all of our column units, they come with a full 3-year parts and labor warranty and a 12-year on the sealed system. And we will have presentations shortly on the nuts and bolts and taking a deeper dive into really what the sealed system and that refrigeration deck looks like when it comes to our columns.